What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. All right, so I told you guys I wouldn't gatekeep this video for too long. You guys wanted to know, how do the Bucard E50 compare to other speakers? I also did a community post where I asked you guys, what are some things you wanted to know about the speaker? I got that list of questions in front of me, as well as all the different comparisons you guys wanted to see, and we're going to knock that out in this video. And you're going to understand once we get to the tail end of this video why I didn't put all this in the original review. It would have made the original review probably 45 minutes or longer. So let's get into the questions first. First most common question, are they pleasant on the ears? The answer is absolutely yes. The Bucard E50 are easy on the ears, high quality treble, good resolution, good detail, yet very relaxed on the ears. Matter of fact, that's whether you're listening to a high quality recording or a poor quality recording. Guys, terrible recordings like Smashing Pumpkins, Social Distortion sound fantastic on the Bucard E50. Like, if you remember in my Arendelle 1528 video, I said that speaker fixes bad recordings. The E50 also fixes bad recordings, and it makes them sound great. I didn't have to skip a single track the whole time I was demoing these speakers. Second most common question, are they worth double the price compared to the S400 Mark II? Yes, I think so. Just simply based on the craftsmanship and part selection, just setting aside how they sound, right? Just the part selection and craftsmanship, I would say, makes them worth double the price. Once you add in the sound and how amazing it is, yes, I do think they're absolutely worth the price. Matter of fact, I think you're getting a lot for your money here. Another question I got a lot was, is the soundstage big and do they disappear? Yes to both. Are they good at low volumes? Yes, they're great at low volumes. Another question, how is it with TV, movie, or just dialogue clarity as a whole? Very good. I'm actually rewatching 2004's Battlestar Galactica, and you guys know those old TV shows did not have the best dialogue clarity. They didn't have the best sound. Sometimes voices are hard to hear. The E50 did a fantastic job. Excuse me. I also watched a lot of other content on the E50, whether it was anime or other TV shows. By the way, if you're not watching Solo Leveling and you're into anime, oh my goodness, you need to check it out, guys. But yeah, dialogue clarity, fantastic. Because the E50 brings so much space and separation in the mid-range. I think that's what's really helping with that dialogue clarity. Okay, is it okay without a sub? That was another common question. I think I answered that in the actual review. Yes, for a lot of customers, I think the speaker is going to do just fine without a subwoofer. But of course, if you listen to music that gets really low, like below 30 hertz, and you want a lot of depth, then look, you're going to want a subwoofer with pretty much any speaker, right? People ask how they perform with the tube amps or, Class A amps, right? So look, if your tube amp or your Class A amp has got like 20, 25 watts RMS or more, it should be okay in a smaller room. But do keep in mind, this is a low sensitivity speaker, about 85 dB. That Class A amp or that tube amp that is already known to run hot is going to run even hotter. I don't recommend it. It's a design mismatch. Tube amps and Class A amps were never designed with low sensitivity speakers in mind. You can do it. It should sound fantastic. You're not going to be able to get as loud, of course, and your amps will run a little bit hotter. So again, it'll sound great, but I don't recommend it. What else? Do instruments sound true to size? So you guys know, I don't comment on things like that because I'm of the belief that real instruments in the real world and hi-fi are two totally different things. So I'd prefer to just not even get into that and let you guys all just have your own experience there. What else did we get? Another question. There's just 4 more, guys, then we're going to get into the comparisons. Does it deliver more for your money since Bucard is a manufacturer direct brand? That was a common question I got. Yes, I believe so. Again, just looking at the fit, finish, part selection, I think you're getting a lot for your money. I absolutely think this is a situation where a manufacturer direct brand is bringing more value to the table for the price category. The 11th question was, is there a more logical upgrade for the S400 Mark II, or is the E50 it? You're going to have to wait for the comparisons, which are coming in just a second here. Another common question was, is it more musical or technical? And I'd say it's a great mix of both. The E50 certainly has fantastic technical prowess, whether it be its resolution, its bass attack, its expansiveness in the mid-range, its massive staging, so on and so forth. It's also very musical. Again, I just told you guys, I didn't have to skip a single track. I was able to enjoy my high quality recordings as well as my low quality crappy recordings. The speaker's easy to live with, yet brings a lot of performance to the table. Someone asked how it does with rock music. Fantastic. It is not genre specific, or it's not picky with different music genres. It was able to convey all different kinds of musical genres beautifully and effortlessly. And then the last most common question was, how's the mid-bass punch compared to the S400 Mark II? Well, if you've already seen my E50 review, and I hope you did, if you haven't, I'll link it in the description below. It just came out a few days ago. If you're watching this video as it just came out, the E50 has a little bit of a boost around 50 hertz, so its mid-bass attack is definitely quite a bit stronger than the S400 Mark II. Its bass attack, just overall bass prowess and performance, is quite a bit stronger, sorry, and quite a bit more impactful than the S400 Mark II. So let's jump into those comparisons. So one of the most common comparisons you guys asked for was the Spendor Classic 3.1. So I got that first on the list. That's a $4,500 a pair speaker. The E50 is about $4,100 or so, depending on the exchange rate. The Spendor Classic 3.1 from top to bottom is much warmer. That is important to know. It's a little bit of a larger speaker overall, but let's get to it. In the treble region, the Spendor Classic 3.1 is going to be neutral to slightly dark. The Buchardt E50 is going to be neutral to slightly forward side of neutral. Both speakers are going to give you good airspace and clarity, but the E50 is going to give you a lot more airspace and clarity, as well as just a little bit more resolution overall. Moving down to the mid-range, the Spendor Classic 3.1 is much warmer, much tonally richer. It is the more flavorful speaker. It is a more colored sound. Spendor was not going for accuracy when they made the Classic 3.1. It's a very enjoyable sound, but the Buchardt E50 is a lot more neutral by direct comparison and tends to be just slightly warm in the mid-range. The Buchardt E50 is going to be quite a bit more expansive. Again, more air and space around everything, whether they be instruments or the vocalist. So it's a big tonal difference. Almost every difference these two speakers have comes down to the tonal difference. As far as technical capability, they're both great, but when a speaker gets as warm as the Spendor Classic 3.1, it simply cannot be as open, as expansive as something like the E50. Moving down to the bass region, both speakers absolutely bring the bass. Both speakers are absolute bass monsters. The Spendor Classic 3.1 is more linear with its bass. And being a larger speaker, it is going to be slightly more effortless with a slightly larger sense of scale in the bass region. The Buchardt E50 is going to have a more aggressive attack and a more prominent mid-bass region and more bass quantity and power overall, despite being the smaller speaker. So look, in a nutshell, both speakers are absolutely fantastic. The warmer one is the Spendor Classic 3.1 from top to bottom. The Spendor Classic 3.1 is the more romantic. The Buchardt E50 is ever so slightly warm and more technically capable. Now, remember that question, is there a more logical upgrade for the S400 Mark II instead of the E50? Well, the Spendor Classic 3.1, its voicing is actually quite a lot more like the S400 Mark II. So if you're like, hey, I love my S400 Mark II, I don't want to change anything as far as the tonal balance goes. I just want a bigger stage. I want it to be more open and more expansive. I want a little more resolution. I want a little more bass power. That's the Spendor Classic 3.1, right? The Buchardt E50, you know, in the review I just did for the E50, I compared it to the Buchardt S400 Mark II. You guys have already seen me talk about that. The E50 is voiced a little bit differently than the S400 Mark II, but the E50, of course, is also a natural upgrade for the Buchardt S400 Mark II. So probably the most popular comparison you guys asked for was the Arendelle 1528 bookshelf. Of course, that speaker's got so much hype around it. I don't blame you guys for wanting to know. So $4,500 for the pair for the Arendelle 1528 bookshelf, about $4,100 for the Buchardt E50, again, depending on the exchange rate. Let's keep in mind the Arendelle 1528 is among the largest bookshelf speakers just in this price category, or really just period, right? So its physical size is going to give it some inherent benefits over anything that's smaller than the Arendelle 1528. Not only is the cabinet large, it also uses an 8-inch bass driver. So let's do the comparison. Starting in the high frequencies, The Arendelle 1528 is going to be slightly more on the forward side of neutral than the E50. Both speakers have good air and space and resolution around them. I would say the Arendelle 1528 is just a little bit more airy. Moving down to the mid-range, both speakers are fantastic. The E50 is slightly warm. The Arendelle 1528 is almost neutral. Just some may say even by direct comparison, slightly dry by direct comparison. There's no like extra tonal richness or flavor in the Arendelle 1528. It's all about neutrality and technical capability, whereas the E50 gives us just a little bit of warmth, a little bit of naturalness, a little bit of tone to it, a little bit of flavor. Both really open and expansive with great separation. Both stage really big, but listen, guys, the Arendelle 1528 is a massive 66-pound speaker. It's going to stage larger. It's going to be able to play tremendously louder also. Moving down to the bass, the Bucard has a little bit of that bass bump in that 50 hertz region. The Arendelle 1528 is going to be more linear. Both speakers have a great amount of bass power and prowess, but again, the 66-pound Arendelle 1528 is going to extend a lot lower, and it's going to be able to play that bass to much louder volumes overall. Both speakers are absolutely fantastic. This is the simple takeaway. The Arendelle 1528 tonally is more neutral. It's more about its technical capability. There's no flavor to the sound whatsoever. It is absolute neutrality. By direct comparison to the E50, some may even think that the Arendelle 1528 is slightly dry or perhaps slightly analytical. Both are going to be really good, but look, I mean, there's a tonal difference and that size difference. Again, it's going to give that 1528 bookshelf just tremendously more extension and just bass power overall. What can you expect, guys? A 66-pound speaker, it's pretty shocking. A lot of you guys asked about the Dynaudio Special 40. I'm surprised the Dynaudio Special 40 is on so many people's mind. It's a speaker that's been in the market for so long. I'm surprised it hasn't been discontinued yet. And look, I'm happy it hasn't been. I love Dynaudio speakers. I think they make a great speaker. And the Special 40 has an absolutely beautifully finished cabinet. So let's do that comparison. So the Special 40 treble, the Special 40 is really interesting depending on how you have it set up in the room. And you'll see this in reviews. Some people describe it as being on the forward side of neutral, energetic, somewhat bright. And then you'll see some reviews where they describe it as like warm, rolled off, dark side of neutral. And it's like, what the heck's going on here? Well, the Special 40 is a little bit more sensitive to setup, and that setup is going to dictate what kind of high frequencies you're going to experience. The E50, I did not run into that. It seemed like it seemed to be fairly forgiving actually with placement, toe in, toe out, stand height, so on and so forth. So my experience of the Special 40 was slightly on the forward side of neutral. Both speakers had roughly the same treble energy or treble quantity, if you will. The Dynaudio Special 40's attack was slightly soft, whereas the E50 is a little bit more neutral with its treble attack not being soft or sharp. Moving down to the mid-range, both speakers are fantastic. The Dynaudio Special 40 tonally is warmer and richer. Again, more flavor with the Dynaudio Special 40. Not as much as the Spendor Classic 3.1, but certainly quite a bit more than the E50. The E50 is going to be more towards neutrality and just slightly warm in the mid-range. So the E50 is going to be a little bit more expansive, a little bit better with its separation. It's not a huge difference, but it is a difference. Moving down to the bass region, the Dynaudio Special 40 is more linear with its bass. The E50 has that bump in the mid-bass region. Both speakers have good, strong, confident, powerful bass. I don't know which one can play louder, honestly. I like both speakers a lot. Whew, what else is on here? You guys asked a lot about the ATC SCM19. I haven't reviewed that yet. Let me think if I want to do this or you know what? We'll come back to it. Let's come back to it. One of the most popular ones you guys asked for, and this surprised me because it's such a price difference. You guys asked about the KEF R3 Meta. That's a $2,200 speaker. Maybe you guys are existing KEF R3 Meta customers and you're wondering if the E50 is an upgrade. That's my guess on why it came up so much. So KEF R3 Meta, fantastic speaker. Worth mentioning, is quite a bit larger than the Bucard E50. I think a lot of people that have never seen a KEF R3 Meta in person don't know that it's a somewhat large bookshelf speaker. It's fairly tall. Like next to the E50, it'd probably come up to here about. Anyway, I digress. So starting in the treble region, I'd say the KEF R3 Meta and the E50 treble. E50 might be like 3 or 4% more energetic compared to the KEF R3 Meta. Both speakers are fairly neutral, just ever so slightly forward-sided neutral perhaps, but again, the E50 maybe just 5% more treble. Both speakers are fairly refined. Both speakers are fantastic for the money. The E50 being twice the price, look, it's going to have more refinement. It's going to be easier on the ears. It's going to be better with just about any kind of recording, whether it's a great recording, it's going to give you more resolution. If it's a bad recording, the E50 is going to fix it and make it sound better. The KEF R3 Meta is fantastic in the treble region, but the E50 is going to be an upgrade overall, giving you more air, more space, a little bit more resolution, a little bit more layering in the soundstage. Moving down to the mid-range, both speakers tonally are roughly the same, both being slightly forward. Neither speaker is super warm and rich. Neither speaker is dry and analytical. They're both slightly warm. The E50, however, still takes the edge in terms of expansiveness, airspace, and separation in that mid-range region. Moving down to the bass, both speakers are absolute bass monsters. Yes, a lot of people don't know this. The KEF R3 Meta is an absolute bass monster. It has more linear bass. The E50 has that little bit of a bump in the 50 hertz region I mentioned that gives it a little bit stronger attack in the mid bass region. Both speakers are great, but the E50 it's going to have superior build quality, really amazing parts. It's just going to be a more refined sound overall, a little bit more resolution, a little bit more refined, easier on the ears, more expansive overall. But if you can't afford the E50, the R3 Meta is a fantastic speaker. You guys asked about the Monoacoustics Platamon. That's the only speaker that costs more than the E50 by a considerable amount that you guys asked about. So you guys know I've owned the Monoacoustic Platamon for a long time. I love it. I bought it after the review. Fantastic speaker, $6,000 without stands. And that's, so the E50 is $4,100, so that's like a $1,900 price difference. You've almost got a pair of KEF R3 Metas in between, right? So let's do the comparison. Look, tonally, these speakers are very different. The Monoacoustics Platamon is all about neutrality, accuracy, detail, analytical, so on and so forth. In the high frequencies, both speakers bring a tremendous amount of refinement to the table. But listen, the Monoacoustics Platamon costs $2,000 more for a reason. They are going to be the more refined, the more resolute. The Monoacoustics Platamon is going to dig into the recording tremendously more. Moving down to the mid-range of the Monoacoustics Platamon is mostly neutral, but compared to the E50, it's going to sound cold and analytical. The E50 is going to be slightly warm by direct comparison. Both speakers are going to have that good, expansive mid-range, but again, the Platamon being all about detail and detail retrieval is going to be much more expansive, much more open, dig into the recording quite a bit more. And worth mentioning perhaps is the Platamon is not going to appreciate low quality recordings. It is a very high-end speaker in terms of how resolute it is, how much it digs into the recording. The Platamon is for the detail obsessed customer. Moving down to the bass, both speakers have good, strong, powerful bass. The Platamon is more linear with its bass. The E50 has a little bit of a rise in the 50 hertz region. I've said it like 9 times now. So again, look, both speakers are really good. Both speakers are fantastic for their price points. They are just for very different customers. The Platamon is a resolution first speaker. That is what it's all about. Resolution and realism at the same time. That's what it brings to the table. The E50 is fantastic, but it's not for the customer that's like obsessed with resolution. It has great resolution, don't get me wrong, but you guys know the type of customer I'm talking about. There's guys out there, you want to hear everything. You don't even care if you're supposed to hear it or not. Like if the artist like touches the mic, if there's a slight sound to it, you want to be able to hear it, right? The saliva in their mouth. If there's something happening in the background of the recording studio even, you want to be able to hear it. You want to hear as much into the recording as possible. That's how you enjoy the hobby. Platamon is for you. So let's come back to the ATC SCM19. I'll give you a brief comparison. I haven't reviewed it yet. I don't want to give a lot away, and I've been spending a lot of time with the E50, so my time with the SCM19 is low. I don't even think they're fully broken in yet. So I'm just going to tell you areas where they're similar and a couple areas perhaps where they're different, and I'll just leave it at that. So the ATC SCM19, that is, how much is that thing? $37.49, so a smidgen cheaper. It's a larger speaker. I think that's important to mention. It is a very large speaker for a bookshelf speaker. Not quite as large as the Arundel 1528, but it's a big speaker. Despite being larger, the Bucard E50 actually has quite a bit more bass because the ATC SCM19 is a sealed design, right? Both speakers are really expansive. Both speakers have great separation in the mid-range, really fantastic separation in the treble. I'm not going to sit here and talk about any tonal differences. Again, I told you guys I haven't put a lot of time on the 19s just yet. I think that's about as much as I want to say about that comparison. I like to be honest with you guys. I don't like to speak out of turn. I don't have a ton of time on the ATC SCM19s. So again, the thing they have in common is fantastic separation and expansiveness. The thing they totally don't have in common is bass. The ATC SCM19 has, good linear bass, but it is, out of everything on this list, it has the lightest bass because it is a sealed speaker. So guys, again, if you didn't see my original E50 review, it is linked in the description below. So I just answered all your questions from that community post, and I did all the comparisons you guys asked for. So, I would say I don't think anyone's going to ask for more comparisons in the comments section, but I'm here for it. If there's other stuff you guys want me to compare it to, I'll try. Try not to be crazy with your requests. Let me get one thing out of the way. If you own a speaker currently that's $2,000 or $2,500, like the R3 Meta, the original S400 Mark II, the Totem Bison bookshelf, the Fine Audio F500 SP, the Dynaudio Evoke 20. I mean, there's so many speakers in that price category, and they're all great. And you're wondering, is the E50 an upgrade? Yes. Yes, the E50 is technically superior in terms of its technical capability to any of the speakers in the $2,000 to $2,500 price category. So if you were asking how it compares to anything like that, I just told you. So the only question I want to see about speakers that are substantially cheaper than the E50 is perhaps if you just want to know the tonal difference, right? Like I already told you, it's better than all the $2,000 speakers, but if you own the Evoke, like the Evoke 20, you might want to know, well, what's tonally different? Okay, I get it. The E50 is better. What's tonally different? Well, the Evoke 20 is super warm, for example. The E50 is just a little bit warm, right? So I'll try to still answer those questions. I'll try to still answer those questions. So I told you just about everything I wanted to tell you about the E50 in its dedicated review, and now I have gone through and answered all the questions you guys had in that community post, and I did all the comparisons you guys asked about. So I hope you guys feel I did this review justice. I know a lot of people were excited about this speaker. I absolutely love it. I think it's a winner. I think you're getting a lot for your money here. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I can't imagine too many people could find complaint with this speaker. I couldn't think of a single con. It sounds fantastic. It looks beautiful. It's a winner. Holler if you got any questions, guys. Until next time, take care.